if you want to understand why the hostility is so intense, children within the Palestinian world are taught from an early age to hate Jews and to grow up believing that their greatest goal in life is to kill Jews. And if you don't think that I'm serious about this, I want you to watch this. These are children in a Palestinian school.
لأنه نعمل حرب إنه نفرجي اليهود إنه إحنا مش إنه إحنا مش شاطرين، إحنا قوايا كمان. في ناس بحبوا فلسطين بدهم يحاربوا وبضحوا بدمهم عشان فلسطين. أنا بدي أهزمهم بالحرب، بدي أهزمهم.
بيعلمونا ان الاقصى إلنا وإلنا يعني الحق، يعني إلنا فلسطين والاراضي كلها إلنا، لانهم بسبب كذبهم وانتهاكاتهم انهم يقولون انه الهيكل تحت المسجد الاقصى، ولا مره انه يكون الهيكل تحت المسجد الاقصى.
أنا بقرأ اليهود.
You know, it's hard to watch this. These are little kids, look, what, 7, 8 years old?
Yeah.
You know, it makes me think that we talk in this country about the mutilation of children's bodies and this transgender nonsense. This is a mutilation of these kids' minds.
Yes.
And their brains are being manipulated and mutilated. You know, if you're a Palestinian and you kill a Jew, a street is named after you in the Palestinian Authority. And sometimes a school, and your family gets a pension for life because you're a hero. You've killed a Jew. I mean, we just don't think in those terms. Israelis don't think in those terms. They don't get awards for killing a Palestinian. It doesn't work like that for them. There are Palestinian sympathizers even in our U.S. Congress, the so-called squad, a bunch of idiots, and maybe one of the chief idiots among them is Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, and somebody chasing her down the hallway just to ask, what do you think about, you know, the Palestinians chopping the heads off of babies? And you can see Rashida Tlaib, who, by the way, is flying a Palestinian flag outside of her U.S. congressional office, will have none of the question because she didn't want to have to answer it.
Terrorists have cut off babies' heads and burned children alive. Do you support Israel's rights to defend themselves against this brutality?
We're just going to go through here.
You can't comment about Hamas terrorists chopping off babies' heads? Congressman, why do you have the Palestinian flag outside your office if you do not condone what Hamas terrorists have done to Israel? Do Israeli lives not matter to you?
I think what makes that so very disgusting is how vocal she is when she gets in front of a microphone and can boast about her Palestinian roots and how apartheid Israel is. But in the face of this, she didn't want to talk. I guess I wouldn't either. There was really a video that's kind of resurfaced. It sounds prophetic now. Donald Trump, I think this is probably 3 or 4 years ago when he made this speech talking about Iran. Watch.
The Iranian government masks a corrupt dictatorship behind the false guise of a democracy. It has turned a wealthy country with a rich history and culture into an economically depleted rogue state whose chief exports are violence, bloodshed, and chaos. The longest suffering victims of Iran's leaders are, in fact, its own people.
Wow. We think that was 2017. I'm not sure. Now, make sure you understand the setting. This was at the United Nations. This is Donald Trump, then President of the United States. Normally, a speaker goes and they try to be polite and, you know, fair-haired and happy and compliment everyone for their commitment to global peace. Donald Trump basically went in there and just scanned the absolute flesh off of the Iranian delegation. And the guy that's sitting there, I don't know if you could see his nameplate, he was the UN ambassador from Iran. And he's sitting there. And say what you want to about Trump, but fearless is his name. And he goes into this arena where they hated him. They hated him. And he didn't care. And he didn't go in there and try to be nice and make friends and be loved. He went in there and basically said, these are a bunch of bloodthirsty thugs. He was right. And we've seen it all the more this week.
Obviously referring to Israel Rock Stop 22, how can anyone condone those barbarians?
I don't think anyone can. I think the reason that some do is because I think it's a spiritual issue. I'll just be honest. I don't think you can look at what's happened and somehow turn a blind eye to that unless you have a conscience that, like it says in the New Testament, Romans chapter 1, your conscience has been seared. And what that means is it's been scarred over, because anything that you do over and over gets scarred.
Right.
And I think people have lived in rebellion against God and in sin so long that their soul is scarred and it's been seared with insensitivity. There is no sensitivity. And so they can look at this and somehow find a way to justify it. Yes. I don't think there's any political answer to that. I don't think it's a military or economic. It's got to be spiritual, that people are just that blind. A few weeks ago, Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor for the Biden administration, made some remarks that, well, to say it didn't age well, I'll let you be the judge.
What we said is we want to depressurize, de-escalate, and ultimately integrate the Middle East region. The war in Yemen is in its 19th month of truce. For now, the Iranian attacks against U.S. forces have stopped. Our presence in Iraq is stable. I emphasize for now because all of that can change. And the Middle East region is quieter today than it has been in 2 decades.
Not really. No, the quietest it was, and again, I'm saying this, full disclosure, I'm a Trump supporter, but the quietest we've had was during the 4 years of Trump because the Middle East countries were scared of what he would do. And they're not afraid of what Biden would do. To be fair, I am very proud of the comments that Joe Biden has made and that his Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, has made, and that the Department of Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, has made. All of them have not put a bit of daylight between the U.S. and Israel in their support, and I'm very grateful for that. It has been a full-throated support for the Israelis, and I pray that it stays that way, even when Israel does, as they will, get into a heavy ground action in Gaza. There will be civilian casualties, and it's horrible, and I hate that it's going to happen. There's no way around it. But just to put this in perspective, the Israelis have dropped hundreds of thousands of leaflets all over Gaza telling them, get out, get to the southern part of Gaza. We're going to take action in the north. They took over the television station. Israel has the technical capability to do that, and they've been broadcasting on Gaza television, telling everyone, get out. They have hit every cell phone in Gaza. They've done everything they can to say, we don't want to hurt you, get out of the way. And at this point, what else can they do? I guarantee you Hamas did not give Israel any warning and say, we're going to come in and rape your women and murder your babies, so you might want to think about being somewhere else next Saturday. Just a horrible, horrible thing. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I hope you will now. The button is just below this video, and there's a little bell next to it. If you click on those, YouTube will reluctantly start letting you know when we've got a new video uploaded.